Hopefully we hear some good news over the next couple of days, so it's really that time to start getting into baseball shape. I know a lot of people out there right now are doing some sprints in anticipation of the start of the season, but what I like to encourage players is when you're doing your sprint work, have a purpose to it so you can work on your footwork. So we're going to talk about today is doing some sprints out of the box, getting down the baseline and running through first base, and then we're going to do some steal sprints from first to second base, talking about footwork, getting in a good workout, and getting some sprints in at the same time. It's always good to incorporate game-like movements when you're doing your sprint workout. So what we're going to do here today is we're going to make it as game-like as possible by taking some swings, then working on our footwork, getting down to first base, and then obviously filling that sprint work that we're looking for. So what I'm going to do is just get my normal stance here. I'm going to take a full swing and take my run down first base. So a few things that we're going to talk about. When I take my swing, the first thing I want to do is I want to look down and find the baseline. Okay, we know that shortest distance between 2 points is obviously in the straight line, so we want to take advantage of the baseline. There's a lot of kids that I see will take a swing and they have steps all over the bases. Just think about it, that 2 extra steps that it takes, you might be out at first base. And we always want to put pressure on the defense by eliminating the amount of steps that we have getting in a straight line. So I'm going to take my swing and immediately look down, find the baseline, so I'm running in a straight line. About 3 or 4 steps out of the batter's box, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look up and now I'm going to find the baseball. So that tells me if it's a ground ball to shortstop, for instance, I know I'm going to be running right straight through to first base, okay, in a straight line. The ball's hit to the outfield, I know where the ball is, so I can take my roundabout on first base. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to take my full swing, I'm going to look down, find the ball, sprint through first base. A couple of things to note when you're doing your base running, whether it's sprint workout or in a game, we will always want to know where the baseball is as a base runner. And most of the time, if I'm relying on my third or first base coach to tell me where the ball is, I'm already a step or 2 behind. So, as I mentioned earlier, we always want to put pressure on the defense. So if I know where the ball is all the time, that can determine what my next step is going to be. Whether I'm going to be rounding first and going to second, or whether I have to run through first base. Lastly, when we're running through first base, I always get the question of, should I slide for a close play at first base? The only time you should slide at first base is to avoid contact. So if the ball is up in the air and you want to avoid contact, that's when we dive down on the ground. The comparison I always give it to is when you're watching sprinters in the Olympics, you never see them slide at the finish line. They all run straight through. So if it's a close play at first base, ground ball in the infield, for instance, we want to run through the base just like we're running through the finish line as a sprinter. Footwork as a base stealer is very important. So that's what we're going to start with over at first base. It's simply our footwork. So when I'm taking my lead, what I want to do as a base runner is I want to lead with my left foot. I want to turn. I want to shuffle, get into a nice comfortable position. If I lead with my right foot, I'm okay right here. But if I go with my second step as my left foot and they throw over, I'm out balance. It's hard for me to get back to first base. But if I lead with my left foot, I'm still unbalanced. Come back out with my right foot, I'm still unbalanced if they throw it over. Okay, so I'm going to go left, turn, shuffle, shuffle. In my lead position here, I want to get into a running position as soon as possible. So I want to get a slight knee bend, so when I turn, I'm in that running position. Okay, based on comfort level and how fast you are, you see a lot of guys that get way down here. Okay, what I tell young players is when I get way down here to get into a running position, the first thing I got to do is I got to come up. So I might as well start in that good athletic position. So from this position here, slight knee bend, I'm in a good athletic position. In this position right here, when the ball is released, I'm going to turn my hips, I'm going to throw my left leg through, and I'm going to get into a running position. Okay, a couple of things of note. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we always want to know where the baseball is. When I get to my comfortable lead right now, I don't want to get too far off where I'm constantly looking back and trying to find the ball. Okay, where I'm not comfortable in getting back to first base. So if I'm in a good athletic position here, and I always know where the baseball is, I'm not looking back to see if they're going to do a pick play. If they pick, I simply jump back into first base, but I know where the baseball is. So from this position right here, I've got a nice steady head, and I always know where the ball is. Okay, secondly, I mentioned you want to get into a running position as soon as possible, and just like going home to first base, we want to use the baseline to our advantage. So what I want to do is when I take my steel sprint, I want to look down, find the baseline, make sure that I'm in a straight line, but then about 2 or 3 steps past, I want to look in and find where the baseball is. Meaning if it's a ball in the dirt and it's not going to be a close play at second base, I can avoid injury by just standing up at second base. If I know that it's a clean catch and it's going to be delivered to second base, I know it's going to be a tight play and I'm going to have to slide into second base. But again, always knowing where the baseball is going to allow me to determine what my next few steps are. Using the baseline to our advantage, going in a straight line, not adding extra steps by running on side of the baseline, make sure that we're using the baseline. And lastly, on behalf of True Playerz and CA Gear, we want to thank you for your continued support and viewership over the last couple of months. We kept getting some great feedback, so we kept putting out videos. And CA Gear, stay tuned next week to post with Metro Baseball League in anticipation of something coming over the next couple of weeks. But CA Gear is proud to offer a great uniform deal for our Metro Baseball League partners with a 2-week turnaround. So if you're still in limbo for uniforms, not sure exactly what's going to happen, contact us directly. We can make that happen in a couple of weeks with a great deal and a great product.